First round picks are supposed to be the stars. Teams invest millions, run endless scouting, and bet big on those top 32 names. But sometimes they get it wrong. Because, well, in the second round, you'll find MVPs, Hall of Famers, and some of the most dominant players ever. Hertz, Brees, Gronk, all passed over. These are second round draft picks that became NFL legends.
It seems that the Patriots chose him 42nd overall.
Now, Rob Gronkowski had absolutely no business being a second round pick. He was 6'6", athletic, and had matchup nightmare written all over him. But Gronk, as we all know, he was a wild card. He partied like a madman, shotgun beers like nothing, and when his dad asked why he chose to attend Arizona, he simply responded, "Dad, if you ever went to an Arizona pool party, you'd understand." But at pick 42, the New England Patriots took the gamble. The same team known for structure, discipline, and the no-nonsense Bill Belichick just drafted the biggest party animal in NFL history.
Yo soy fiesta.
It truly did seem like it was just a disaster waiting to happen, but instead he changed the game forever. He ran through linebackers, boxed out safeties, and steamrolled defenders after the catch. In his second season, he racked up 1,327 yards and 17 touchdowns, the best ever for a tight end at the time. By the end of his career, he had 4 Super Bowl rings, 5 Pro Bowls, and he went down as the greatest tight end in NFL history. All while still partying and having fun. I mean, man, Gronk was just that different. But if anyone could rival Gronk's wild personality, it was Chad Johnson.
Hey, what y'all talking about? Y'all talking about me?
Before he was Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson was just a flashy wideout from Oregon State. When the Bengals took Chad Johnson with the 36th pick in the 2001 NFL Draft, there wasn't much hype. But by the second season he was in the NFL, he was Cincinnati's top weapon. From 2002 to 2007, he posted 6 straight 1,000-yard plus seasons, made 5 Pro Bowls, and led the entire AFC in receiving yards twice. But it wasn't just the numbers. Chad Johnson made the NFL fun. He talked trash with a grin, handed out dollar bills to the refs, and literally listed which corners he was going to cook that week.
As we can see, we have 2 fallen victims already, Mr. Baxter and Mr. Smoot.
The list in his locker, I love that list. It was a list, going into the week, would this guy be able to cover me one-on-one?
He proposed to a cheerleader, did a river dance, and once wore a future Hall of Famer jacket mid-game. Then in 2008, he took it even further. Chad legally changed his name to Ocho Cinco just to match his jersey number 85. But there was a small problem with that. Ocho Cinco isn't actually how you say 85 in Spanish. The proper translation would be Ochenta y Cinco. But in true Chad fashion, he embraced the name and ran with it, all while turning a struggling Bengals franchise into must-see TV. Some people hated his celebrations and antics, but he had the talent to back it up. And Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson retired in 2012 as a legend. 7 years later though, the second round would get another stud receiver, A.J. Brown. Coming out of Ole Miss, most of the spotlight went to his teammate DK Metcalf. So in 2019, he slid to the 51st overall pick, taken in the second round by the Tennessee Titans, the start of greatness. He was big enough to bully corners, fast enough to outrun safeties, and strong enough to turn a 5-yard slant into a 60-yard touchdown. He became the first Titans receiver since the early 2000s to crack 1,000 yards as a rookie. In just 3 years, he scored 24 touchdowns and helped carry the Titans to the playoffs. But his true breakout, it came in Philly. After being traded to the Eagles in 2022, he instantly became Jaylen Hertz's go-to weapon. That season, he had 1,496 yards, 11 touchdowns, and a Super Bowl appearance. But 2 years later, he would finally get that Super Bowl win on a stacked team that included Saquon Barkley and another second-round legend, Jaylen Herz. The man wasn't even supposed to be a franchise quarterback, especially when you consider that he lost his starting job in college to Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. He then transferred to Oklahoma, rebuilt his game, but still, critics said that he was just a runner and not a real quarterback. So when the Eagles picked him 53rd overall in 2020, most people were confused because they already had Carson Wentz. But when Wentz struggled and the team collapsed, Hertz stepped in and changed everything. He brought energy, leadership, and most importantly, toughness. By 2022, he led Philly to a 14-3 record, threw for over 3,700 yards, and ran for 13 touchdowns. And now that he has his ring, it's clear that he's not just a second-round project player anymore. He's one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in football, and he's just getting started. But if we're going to talk about dual-threat quarterbacks and just gunslingers, then we have to talk about one of the greatest second-round draft picks that paved the way for those kind of guys, and Brett Favre. Brett Favre's path to NFL greatness started with doubt. He was drafted 33rd overall in the 1991 NFL Draft by the Atlanta Falcons, a team whose head coach didn't even want to draft him in the first place.
He said, "What school are you from, Mississippi?" I was like, "Southern Miss." I'm thinking to myself, he should know that.
Right, yeah.
But I'm from Southern Miss. He said, we drafted the wrong guy.
And when Favre finally saw the field in Atlanta, he threw just 4 passes. 2 were incomplete, 1 was intercepted, and 1 was completed to himself. It looked like an absolute bust in the making, but then came the trade that changed everything. Green Bay sent a first-round pick to Atlanta in 1992 and took the gamble on Favre, and well, the rest is history. He had a cannon for an arm and the confidence to throw it anywhere on the field, sometimes into triple coverage, sometimes right on the money. He won 3 straight MVPs, led the Packers to 2 Super Bowls, and delivered a title in 1996. He played wild, he played tough, and he never missed a game. Favre started 297 straight games, the longest streak for any quarterback in NFL history. By the time he retired, he held the record for the most passing yards, touchdowns, and wins by a quarterback. He showed the world that second-round quarterbacks can become Hall of Fame legends if they've got enough guts to sling it. In terms of best second-round quarterbacks ever though, the only man who can rival Favre is Drew Brees. And I mean, look, Drew Brees coming out of college heard it all.
So tends to sidearm his passes going deep. Lacks accuracy and touch on his long throws. Seems more comfortable in the short intermediate passing attack. Well, that's the whole design of the spread offense.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Does not possess the ideal height you look for in a pro passer.
There we go.
Oh, what?
There we go.
But despite a stellar college career at Purdue, teams still weren't sold on him as a quarterback. So in the 2001 NFL Draft, he fell to the second round where he was picked by the San Diego Chargers. And well, his early years, they were pretty rocky. He showed flashes, but the Chargers were never fully committed. Then in 2005, he tore his shoulder in a contract year, and that should have been the end of his story. But that injury led to a miracle pairing. New Orleans took a chance on Brees when no one else would. Coming off of Hurricane Katrina, the Saints needed more than just a quarterback. They needed hope. And Brees, he delivered. 5,000-yard seasons became routine. 13 Pro Bowls, 2 Offensive Player of the Year awards, and most importantly, a Super Bowl win in 2009 that brought a city back to life. By the time he retired, Brees shattered records. Most passing yards, most completions, and at one point, most career touchdowns. All from a guy who was too small, too short, and nothing more than a system quarterback. And one of his best weapons was a second-round wide receiver in Michael Thomas. Now, 5 wide receivers were taken before Thomas. None were even close to how good he was though. He wasn't the fastest or the flashiest, he just got open and caught everything. In his rookie season, he caught 1,137 yards and 9 touchdowns, but by year 2, he was already a Pro Bowler. And by year 4, he put together one of the greatest receiving seasons in NFL history. He caught 149 passes that season, an NFL record. Nobody had ever been that consistent, that dominant week after week. He also racked up 1,725 yards, 1 Offensive Player of the Year, and helped lead the Saints to a 13-3 record. His nickname? Can't Guard Mike. And for a while, it was pretty true. Short routes, slants, deep ends, it didn't matter. If the ball was in the air, it was already his. Injuries have slowed him down in recent years, but at his peak, Michael Thomas was a stat monster and one of the most productive receivers the game had ever seen. But on the other side of the ball, Brian Dawkins was an absolute beast. In the 1996 NFL Draft, Brian Dawkins really wasn't a flashy pick. He fell to the second round, taken 61st overall by the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was one of the greatest steals in franchise history. He didn't just hit you, he launched himself like a missile. They called him Weapon X, inspired by Wolverine from X-Men, because he was that intense, that explosive, and that unpredictable. Over 16 seasons, Dawkins earned 9 Pro Bowls, was named first team All-Pro 4 times, and became one of the most feared and respected players in the league. But it wasn't just because of the hits he would deliver. He was the complete package. 37 interceptions, 26 sacks, and 36 forced fumbles. That kind of production at safety was nearly unheard of. He led the Eagles to 4 straight NFC Championship games and a Super Bowl appearance in 2004. Later, even when he went to the Broncos, that passion never faded. He was still flying around the field, still leading, and still making an impact. And in 2018, he got the gold jacket, inducted into the Hall of Fame. But if there's anyone scarier than Brian Dawkins to go up against, it's Derrick Henry. At 6'3", 247 pounds, Derrick Henry looked more like a linebacker than a running back. Sure, he won the Heisman Trophy and rushed for nearly 4,000 yards in his last 2 seasons at Alabama, but NFL scouts still weren't convinced. They said he was too big, too upright, not built for today's league. So in 2016, he slipped to the 2nd round, picked 45th overall by the Tennessee Titans. And by 2018, Derrick Henry started bulldozing defenses. And in 2019, he led the league in rushing, capped off by a historic playoff run, going for 182 yards against the Patriots and 195 yards against the Ravens. In 2020, he became just one of 8 players to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season, and he didn't just rack up stats, he terrorized defenders. His stiff arm on Josh Norman, absolutely insane. His ability to hit top speed at his size is unreal. Henry ran like a freight train with rocket boosters. And by now, he's got 5 1,000-yard seasons, 2 rushing titles, multiple Pro Bowls, and a whole career full of broken tackles. At even 31 years old, he's still dominating the NFL while searching for a ring with the Ravens. But while Henry liked running through guys, running back Lehan McCoy was flashy and he made defenders look silly. But that's the thing, he didn't come into the NFL with the cleanest resume. There were concerns about injuries, ball security, and whether his flashy style could translate to the pros. So despite his talent, he dropped to the 2nd round of the 2009 NFL Draft, where the Eagles scooped him up with the 53rd overall pick. And I mean, truthfully, nobody moved like Lehan McCoy did on a football field. He didn't just run around defenders, he absolutely glided past them. With those ankles, he could cut on a dime and make defenders look completely lost. They didn't call him shady for nothing. Trying to tackle him in open space felt like chasing a shadow. And by just his 2nd season, McCoy was a full-blown star. In 2011, he led the NFL with 17 rushing touchdowns and over 1,600 scrimmage yards. He'd go on to have 6 1,000-yard seasons, 2 rushing titles, and 6 Pro Bowl nods. And while Philly was where he built his legacy, he stayed productive everywhere he went. Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. He ended up with over 11,000 rushing yards, 73 total touchdowns, and 2 Super Bowl rings to his name. So now yes, 1st round picks might get the spotlight, but these 2nd rounders, they built legacies and they became absolute NFL legends.